Welcome everyone to Ventana Wildlife Society's Condor Chat, which is normally held on the fourth Thursday of the month, or I should say last Thursday of the month. Of course, when the holidays are around, like November and December, it's the week before. Uh, check that, 2 weeks before. Anyway, you get my drift. Welcome, and if you're new to our Condor Chats here, this is a great opportunity to hear directly from the field crew and what's going on out in the wild, where all the work is being done to save the California condor, bring them back to their glory, self-sustaining once again. Is ultimately our goal. Uh, like many of you, you have family coming into town. I have a brother coming to visit in about 30 minutes. So I'm actually gonna just welcome you and thank you for your support this year. Mention a couple of things about year-end giving. We obviously need a tremendous amount of support to get us through these times of saving condors with lead poisoning, or from lead poisoning especially. And now we have on top of that highly pathogenic avian influenza. And we just truly believe that in the long run we're going to be successful, but we really need to get over this big hump and solve some of these critical problems. And we're the ones most closely working with the birds out in the field with many, many great partners at the zoos and at government and other private organizations such as ourselves. So year-end giving, you can make a contribution directly to the organization, our Monterey office, or through our Monterey County Gives campaign. And if you're on the fence and still thinking about it, just listen to today's chat and listen to all the work that's going on and hear directly from the people working on it. And I hope you'll be inspired to give. I also want to mention a couple of generous donors. I want to especially recognize Nancy Eccles and Homer Hayward Foundation, the Doris Day and Terry Melcher Foundation, and Pacific Gas and Electric Company have all been really instrumental this year in helping us keep things going. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And happy holidays to all of you. I won't take any more of your time, but thanks for listening. And let me turn it over to Joe Burnett, who will introduce you to the rest of the team.
Thank you, Kelly, and welcome back, everyone, to our
And
December installment of the Condor Chat. It's been an incredible year. This is kind of we like to use this to kind of be our kind of year in review in a way. As many of you know, we've been having an amazing year, but we always exercise a little caution when we say that because we know things can change on a dime. Lots of ups and downs, mostly ups this year, which is great. We've had some challenges, as Kelly mentioned, with dealing with HPAI and lead. And really, what helps you get through something like that is having a really amazing crew. So today we have a lot to cover. Without further, I want to give a little teaser. We have a special guest today, Tim Huntington. Many of you know we use a lot of Tim's photos in every Condor chat. Um, and we'll get more into that a little bit. But Tim's going to present on the back half of our Condor chat. So stick around after the update. And we're going to probably do a shorter update today to get to Tim. He has some great stuff to share. Again, amazing photos, and really, he's going to share with some of his best spots to see condors. Yeah, so today we're going to do a Big Sur update, give some update there, population status like we always do, the status of the HPAI vaccinations, the lead outbreak that we thought we were going to get through 2024 without a major outbreak, and man, it came at the end of the year, that's for sure, right in at the finish line. And then we'll tune in with Griffin and Rachel for a rookie update on our new release birds down at San Simeon. Darren and Danae have some super exciting nesting updates. And again, then we're going to get to Tim, and then we'll finish it out with Q&A with Mike. And yeah, anytime you go through these rough patches and just a year like 2024, just can't say enough about the crew that we have here at Ventana that I get to work with. Big honor. We got Mike, you know. heading up our non-lead program and other wildlife projects. And of course, Derek Whitmer helps out Mike. Those guys are doing amazing stuff on the non-lead front. And then we have our amazing Condor biologist, Danae, Darren, and Kara is not with us this month, but hopefully she'll be back next month. It's timing usually because we're trying to cover everything in the Condor world. It works out that not everybody can be on the Condor chats, but we'll get Kara back next month. And of course, our amazing Condor interns down at San Simeon holding down the fort down there. They're tuning in live. Rachel Reguera and Griffin Davies. We also have Evan McGreeth. He's going to have an amazing map next month. We're not going to get a map from Evan this month. I'm just going to tell you. I miss it too. I miss when we don't get an Evan map. But Evan's been working hard with Mike, trying to pinpoint some of these hot spots for non-lead outreach. And of course, we have a student researcher helping us from CSUMB, Valerie Airing. And then, of course, I already mentioned Tim. And big shout out to our veterinarian advisor, Amy Wells. She has been really, really helping out a lot, especially with HPAI and everything else going on. So again, we're going to get right into it right now. Big Sur update. December came with a bang. We had winter arrived. Luckily, we were able to keep on pace with the cabin rebuild. Everything's going well there. Waiting for our next big inspection, but we're really on the home stretch with the cabin. Winter weather did arrive in December, like it always does, and it packed a punch. This last storm that came through had up to 90-mile-an-hour winds. Fortunately, the site was okay. The cabin was unscathed. The release bin was unscathed. The road was really a mess, like it always is, but we managed to get in yesterday, literally yesterday afternoon. We finally got back in, got access reestablished to the Big Sur site. And I don't know if you guys heard on the news, but there was a tornado in Scotts Valley just by Santa Cruz as part of that storm that hit. Pretty unusual, not a common thing for California, at least, to have tornadoes. So, really rare on the coast. We get them out, we get these water spouts over the water, but man, to have a tornado coming around was pretty shocking. Thankfully, nobody died, or I think some folks were injured, but yeah, pretty crazy weather. And that's just the start of the winter. So we're getting ready. It was a good warm up for what's to come. But yeah, and Mike was going to give kind of a year-end recap of all the great things going on with the non-lead program. Yeah, Mike, what do you got for us? Sounded like a pretty awesome year.
It was an awesome year, and I don't want to take another minute away from Tim Huntington. The public has demanded Tim, and we are delivering. But I'll just mention that in 2025, we or 2024, still in this year, we gave away just over 1,500 boxes of free non-lead ammunition. But it doesn't matter how much; it matters where it goes to, and so we're continuing to work on that. Some good news, we have a new grant coming on the books that will greatly improve our budget for giving out free non-lead ammunition. And I might mention that the funds that we use for providing free non-lead ammunition is through grant funds, not through the private donations, unless those donors specifically requested that the funds be used for non-lead ammunition. But we're working off some very generous grants, and they are helping us reach an increasing number of people. We've been worried about the availability of 22 long rifle that the ranchers use for shooting ground squirrels, and we are evaluating a new product that we hope will hit the market soon in 2025. So we're looking forward to having something new to provide hunters and ranchers. And so far, the returns are pretty good on this. The folks who are testing it like what they're seeing, and so I'm very optimistic about that. We're working with a local store in Hollister to try to improve non-lead ammunition distribution. And I met a rancher just yesterday that I'm really excited about, who is going to help tell the neighbors about our program. So there's a lot to be optimistic about, even though we're dealing with challenging times, Joe.
Hey, thanks, Mike. And I mean, this is a program that started in 2012. I remember Monterey County Fish and Game Commission came to the table with with some support money and kind of kicked off this whole program that you've been running amazingly over the last now we're in our 12th year. So man, the impact it's having, it's really hard to quantify, but I know for us working out in the field, it's we know how critical it is. So big kudos to Mike and Derek, everybody. Jumping right into our population update, another milestone, 115 birds. That number keeps going up, and yeah, and I think the recent bump, just as of today, Pinnacles has finished releasing their 6 birds, and that is a big reason for the bump. And as well, we confirmed another fledge. So yeah, it's nice to have those fledglings fully maxed out, and the release birds, the 21 birds contributed from those 2 groups added to the population total to 115. So a truly historic moment for Central California. You know, we do this collaboratively with Pinnacles National Park. We cannot go without giving them a huge shout out. Incredible partner to have to work and embark on this recovery we've been doing now for God since 1997 for Ventana and 2003 for Pinnacle. So we're in it for the long haul. Unfortunately, like we said, we had such an amazing year going, almost too good to be true. And we did record a couple deaths since the last update. Unfortunately, one was one of our oldest birds, 208 solo, and 1122, a Pinnacles release bird. Unfortunately, that didn't make it. It's again, both birds, the cause of death are yet to be determined. We submit these birds, and we should hear back in a couple months, and we'll let you know in a future update what the cause of death for those 2 birds is or is. And then, of course, missing in the wild, we have one bird, 1144. If you notice on that list, we don't have 477 and 937 on there, Phoenix and Leonard. They basically have been missing over a year now, so they are considered deceased. We never did find them. So yeah, 2 incredible birds. Obviously, Phoenix's story was probably one of the most incredible. He was survived a fire in 2008 as a chick. He was the chick of 199, the great one, and 231, and survived the Basin Complex fire, fledged, and then went on to nest with Redwood Queen, and just an amazing life. And so we will remember him, of course. And same with 937. All these birds are, equal across the flock. So, but some of these older birds, it's always tough. And that leads us to 208 solo. This is a heartbreaker, of course. I remember releasing her with 204 back in some other 209, some of these other birds back in 2000. They were an incredible release group. All those birds really did well, and lived long. And yeah, so it's hard to put into words. I can't even really get into it without getting too emotional. It's just a bird that's been around a long time, and we're all going to miss her dearly. She was a coastal, always a bird you could see on the coast. She had an incredible territory with Beak Boy 168. They were a longtime pair. They were our longest going pair, had never broken up, always stayed together. So it just, seeing him out flying around alone is really, really tough. So yeah, I can't, I'm going to get emotional. I can already tell it. But yeah, RIP 208. She will not be forgotten. All right, Simeon handling. Danae, it sounds like this was a good day. We got Dr. Wells and Dr. Stringfield up there to help out. Dr. Stringfield is now helping out more from Charles Paddock Zoo and a Tuscadero. Really cool, and used to be involved with the Condor program in the late 90s, early 2000s with LA Zoo. So good to have her back in the mix. But it sounds like that day went really well.
Yeah, it was awesome. Big shout out to Rachel and Griffin. They were super helpful. Rachel and Griffin have gotten a ton of handling experience now just with all the HPAI vaccinations we've been doing. And so it was really helpful to have them on hand. Kara was there as well. And so, yeah, we handled 3 birds with just the 4 of us and Dr. Wells and Dr. Stringfield administering vaccines. So we got 3 more birds vaccinated for HPAI. That was the second dose of vaccine for 904. So he's fully vaccinated. And then 566 and 936 got their first dose, which is really awesome. And 936 needed a new transmitter as well, so we got to change that out. So she's no longer stealth. We can track her via radio telemetry, and 566 actually needed a new transmitter. We found out once we got him in hand. So that highlights sometimes you don't know what the birds need until you get them in hand. So it's just really important that we're able to trap and kind of opportunistically trap down at San Simeon with Rachel and Griffin there. They trapped all three of those birds. So yeah, again, huge shout out to them. They definitely put a lot of work into getting those birds and then helping to handle them too.
Yeah, and you can update this as well.
Yeah, so as of, I think I put the 17th on here, but still as of today, 81 of 115 now wild condors are HPAI vaccinated, and 45 have received both doses. So as you all know, the HPAI vaccine is a two-dose vaccine. So we have 45 birds that are completely vaccinated. They've received both of those doses and are considered protected. And we still have a good ways to go to get the rest of them vaccinated. But yeah, we've definitely seeing that number 81 is pretty exciting of just knowing that we've made a lot of headway to at least get almost all of the birds, at least that very first dose, which we have to wait 21 days in between doses. So that's why there's a bit of delay there before birds can be fully vaccinated. And then, yeah, we're done with trapping at least through the end of this year, just with weather and the holidays and everything. But we're going to continue trapping in the new year. We unfortunately can't trap breeding age females after the end of the year, just because that's kind of the earliest time where they could have an egg developing inside of them. So we don't want to trap them or handle them. We don't want to cause them any additional stress because that's a pretty intense process for their bodies to be going through. So we let them do their thing and leave them out in the wild. We don't handle them unless, they're in critical, sick or anything like that. But otherwise, we just let them lay their eggs. And then once we confirm that they have laid an egg, then we can be able to trap them. So we're really going to be focusing on males and then a lot of our younger juveniles and getting all those birds fully vaccinated as soon as possible in the new year. As Joe mentioned, we've already started dealing with winter weather, but we're going to continue to contend with winter weather. So we're going to do as much trapping as we can, but it definitely will be a little bit slower going now that the winter weather has fully arrived. And then same thing with those chicks that have fledged, which we'll be talking about more later. None of those wild chicks are vaccinated yet, but they should start showing up to the Big Sur site pretty soon. Sometimes as early as Christmas, we have some untagged juveniles showing up. So definitely keep your eyes out. I know the Pinnacles untagged juveniles have been cruising around a lot more recently. So fingers crossed we get a few birds on the coast, untagged birds showing up at our release site soon.
Yeah, we mentioned this earlier. We had a little bit of a lead outbreak right here at the tail end of the year. We have 3 birds currently in care at Oakland Zoo. 1011 Diane. Fortunately, upon radiograph, she didn't have any fragments, so they should be able to bring her lead level down. Of course, the Iniko was part of that group, 1031, and fortunately, she has no fragments, and we expect her to fully recover with 1011. Unfortunately, 1099 Yarrow is in pretty critical condition. Just too early to know, but she's in really good care. She's with Oakland Zoo. They're going to do everything they can. But again, when lead's in its late stages with some of these birds, it's really tough to say. It just ravages them. So she's fighting for her life. So we just gotta hope the best. And again, big thank you to Pinnacles crew for trapping these birds. They saw them and were able to catch them. And especially 1099, we were trying to catch that bird in Big Sur, and she flew the coop and flew over to Pinnacles. And luckily, they had somebody on standby and was able to get in there and trap her. Fortunately, at the time they did. So yeah, again, it takes a village, and of course we got Oakland Zoo up there treating them. We still have a missing bird in the wild, 729 Ninja, who is nesting with 626 this year, and they have a chick, which we're going to update on a little later. We have not located this bird 729 yet. We're going to send up a aerial flight survey to look for this bird with Lighthawk, hopefully before Christmas, kind of depending on what the weather does. But yeah, it's not looking too good for him. But again, we got our fingers crossed. He'll pop back up. And of course, we have a bird of concern that might likely be deceased. And this is another tough one. It might be 204 Amigo. Again, we're hoping it's, for a miracle at this point, but it's really not looking good. And we'll have more on that at the next update. But yeah, it's just not looking too good for that bird. And again, here's 1099 in treatment. Oakland Zoo sent along these photos. They've been doing some pretty intensive procedures for 1099 to keep her alive. They're cleaning out her crop and flushing it to basically stimulate it and keep it. It's very irritated from the lead exposure, and of course she's got still has a fragment in her GI tract and her digestive tract that they're trying to get out. And yeah, it's a process, and it's really one of these. It's kind of a juggling act. They're trying to do the best they can to treat the bird, but also and not make it get any worse, but also trying to get the underlying cause taken care of. So it's really precarious, really tough situation to be in. So yeah, big shout out to Oakland for all they're doing for 1099, and we will keep you posted on that, of course, as much as we can. Bucky, who we couldn't figure out, Griffin or Rachel, who took this photo, but maybe you guys can give a quick Bucky update. He's come back.
Yeah, so Bucky has been actually hanging around San Simeon for I think about 2 weeks now. He's been kind of mingling with the other 2024 or 2023 rookies and some of our 2024 rookies. Which is always nice to see him not by himself. Um Yeah, he's been looking good. You can see in this picture he has a little bit of a crop, so he's eating well, flying around. Yeah, trying to be like a bird again.
Yeah, it's good to have him back in the mix. How's he doing with the other? Is he kind of pushing everybody around?
No, no, he's getting along really well with the 24 rookies, like Rachel was saying. But he's still Bucky, so he's pretty low in the pecking order. But not too bad. He's getting along well with everyone.
Yeah, I love this photo. You can see his beak turning a little bit, starting to get a little bit of that lipstick yellow on there, um, around the beak. That's pretty cool. So he's growing up, but boy, he's definitely lower in that hierarchy. But he'll figure it out. He's found his posse, it sounds like.
Think so, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he'll stick around a little longer. He's doing well here.
Awesome. Thanks for that. That's a great photo. All right, this leads right into you guys. How the rookie update here.
Yeah, so we'll keep it a little brief to get to Tim later, but we've had four of the birds. So yeah, Mina, Fennec, Pongo, and Nara have all been sticking around the release pen essentially, just hanging out with each other, hanging out with all the other 23 rookies and adults that have come by. But we have had some movements. Yeah, Rachel, if you want to touch on the other two.
Yeah, so the other two, 1181 and 1232, have been getting a little farther from the slope. So Rusty 1181 has been hanging around like the town of San Simeon a lot. There are some ranches around there that he likes to kind of float between. And we like couldn't get a visual of him for like almost a month or over a month. But then last week actually was the first time we saw him for a really long time. So, and he was just like chilling on a hill, walking up and down till he went over the top of the hill, and we haven't seen him yet. But yeah, he seems to be doing well. And then the other bird who has like migrated off the slope is Finn, 1232. But he's found his way back, so he seems to be just branching out a little.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of good pictures of them hanging out with a lot of the other adults hanging out with each other. It's been really cool seeing them interact with all the other wild flying birds out there. But yeah,
Yes, on the left, is
1232.
that who is that? 1200 with who?
Like
Oh
could
man,
it be 994,
I
994?
Oh,
think so. Yeah,
994.
it's one of those two. Yeah, I don't remember from that photo, unfortunately. But yeah, they're all getting along with the other adults really well. It's been super cool to see them just hanging out together.
That's one of those behavioral check boxes we like to see, with the release group, so it's so awesome you guys are seeing that and confirming that these birds are socializing with older birds, that they understand their position in the pecking order.
Mhm.
That's really good stuff. Yeah, these are all great photos. Oh, there's 936.
Yeah, that was a couple days ago actually, earlier this week. But there, yeah, a lot of our local birds. 758 too. I think he's kind of a softie for these ones. We don't really see him showing too much aggression to him, but yeah, I couldn't get any photos, but a lot of those rookies are perching right next to him, and he's doing fine with them.
Yeah, I always like seeing the rookies perched by 758 because he's usually chasing all the other birds away from him when he wants to perch somewhere, but he just lets these guys sit down next to him.
Awesome. All right, right into nesting.
Woohoo! Yeah, I can start us off here. So yeah, we have officially confirmed all 4 Ventana monitored nests have fledged, which is really awesome. Very exciting. We were waiting to call a few more, I think, last update. So we officially called all 4 fledged. I got to check up on 2 of these fledglings just yesterday, I think. Feels like it was a week ago, but it was just yesterday. So yeah, I got to see 1318 yesterday. That's 470 and 962's chick. And then yeah, these are some photos. Really, really lucky that that bird just perched in the perfect spot. I was able to get these photos through a scope actually. So was able to get
Amazing.
pretty good views. Yeah, I was very excited to see that chick. It's funny because I actually thought that the chick was 962 at first because I'd been picking up her signal in the nest canyon and I'd seen an adult bird kind of circling overhead and I was like, "Ooh, I wonder if she's coming in to feed at the nest." So I sprinted up the trail to get to the nest and I saw a bird perch right above the trail just watching me as soon as I came around the corner and I was like, "Huh, I wonder if that's her coming in to check me out," because sometimes the parrots will do that. They're very smart and they know if someone's coming around the bend, they want to check them out first. So I thought it was her at first, and then I quickly realized that it was the fledgling instead. So that was really cool. I got to watch that chick for a little while, and yeah, it looked really great. Just perched up on a nice, you can see that nice thick branch that it's perched on is really great spot. It was nice and high up off the ground, so way out of the way of any predators and anything like that. And 962 was nearby, as well as 470 actually got his signal as well. So both parents are keeping a close eye on 1318, but really awesome to see that chick alive and well outside the nest.
I think for us biologists, that would be an early Christmas present. For you,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that you hit jackpot that day, yesterday.
I was pretty stoked. Yeah, for sure.
We were all pretty jealous. We're like, oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah, does it, especially after 1315, who we'll show a video of in a minute. That was just the hardest fledgling to find. 1318 definitely made it way easier on me, so I was very appreciative of that.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. This is another. Before we
Yeah, I
play the
thought
video, we should do this one.
yeah, this is just a fun little scavenger hunt for you all to this is, 1318 was probably the easiest fledgling to find, and this is potentially 1309 in this photo here. So I'll let you guys kind of look at this photo for a second. Imagine you're a biologist out in the field and you're trying to find a fledgling in this nest canyon.
Needle in a
Um,
haystack.
there is a bird in that photo, shockingly. Uh, and there it is, that little black blob. And that was about as good of a view as I got. This is actually taken through my binoculars, so I did get a slightly better look at it. That's not quite as shaky, me trying to take a photo with my phone through my binoculars. But yeah, we strongly suspect that that was 1309. I can't be 100% sure just because I couldn't see both wings and confirm that it was indeed untagged, but definitely looked like an untagged juvenile and it was hanging out where we think that 626 and 729's nest is. So that is a really remote nest. So even just to see that little black blob on top of a tree was really exciting because we've just been monitoring that nest via GPS. So potential sighting of that chick, because that chick is so high up in a tree, if that is the chick, that means it's probably moving around and flying pretty well by now. So hopefully it'll start showing up at the Big Sur Condor Sanctuary soon as well.
Yeah, so cam viewers, keep an eye out. Could have
Yes.
any fledglings show up anytime. So definitely let us know. All right, Meredith made an amazing video of let me see here. Okay, advanced. Gotta give me a little time on these videos. Amazing timeline video because everyone knows Meredith has been going out with us and filming this nest for God, since it's been a while. Wouldn't you guys say? All right, here
Yeah,
he goes.
pretty much since we found that nest, she's been going out there and getting a bunch of awesome footage. This is the nest that we had a live camera set up on as well. So some of our Explore viewers are really familiar with this chick as well. But yeah, Meredith kind of has followed this chick from hatch to fledge.
All right, here we go. I got share sound and optimize video sharing, just to confirm. We will have sound. Okay, is everyone seeing this? Yeah.
I can't look at the rocket launch, the trophy wives of the astronauts, and I won't listen to their words, 'cause I like birds. I don't care for walking downtown, crazy auto car gonna mow me down. Look at all the people like cows in a herd. Well, I like birds. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on. I can't stand in line at the store. The mean little people are such a bore. But it's alright if you act like a turd, 'cause I like birds. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on. I've got a feeder for you to perch on. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on. I've got a feeder for you to perch on.
Woohoo! Wow, that was awesome. That was too good. Very cool. Another awesome one for Meredith. Thank you, Meredith. That was awesome. God, to see that full sequence from start to finish, because always awesome to see these birds go through the full life cycle. And that bird's out flying around now. So that bird could be at the 1315 could show up at the site anytime. And that bird's pretty darn close. So exciting. Did our scavenger hunt. Oh, and Pinnacles. Good things happening.
Yeah, I can keep going with nests. I don't know if Darren's on. But yeah, Pinnacles, all 5 of their nests have fledged as well. So we are at 9 fledglings total for Central California, which is incredible. And all 5 fledglings seem to be doing really well. The Pinnacles crew has been out tracking the nests that are in the park. They can track pretty well, but even some of the nests outside the park that they're monitoring with GPS. So yeah, they're definitely doing well. And I know a couple have been seen, which Tim might mention later. I don't know if he's planning on it, but so I won't spoil it. But some of them have been seen on some of the popular trails in the park, flying around with the wild flock already. So yeah, definitely awesome to see a bunch of young birds out there, a bunch of untagged. We have 9 untagged birds, which is just wild and kind of a
New
nightmare in
record.
terms of figuring out who parents are, but we will take it absolutely. The previous record for number of fledges in a single year was 5, so we basically doubled that, which is crazy. I mean, yeah, I think all of us were holding our breath and did not expect all 9 of these birds to fledge, and they did, which is really, really awesome. Huge, huge win for nesting this year for sure.
Yeah, and here's a video that Meredith took recently over at Pinnacles, and she was actually with Tim Huntington that day, who's going to be coming up here really shortly. But I wanted to show this some really amazing shot. We actually don't know which fledgling this is, but it's an amazing video, so I'll just stop talking. Oops. Yeah. So I think what was interesting about that were the 2 birds on the rock, right, are a potential pair for next year. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, 966 and I forget her nickname, sorry. And 943 were 2 potential young, both young birds, but potential
For
breeders.
2025, right?
Yep, yeah, they've been seen hanging out together. So who knows?
Which
It's still
is
early, but yeah,
which is right around the
potential
corner.
romance. hmm
And so we have, yeah, so that'll be January will be an exciting update because we'll basically have kind of a lineup of who we expect might be pairing up. And one of the early birds, of course, is 219 and 538. And I have a quick video of a recent display, which is pretty cool. I don't believe there's sound on this one, but Meredith just put this together for me. It's really cool to see how a male displays to a female. You see how colorful he is. It's amazing.
219 does it best, man. He's always out there strutting his stuff.
And I love 996 there on the peripheral.
Like, what's happening?
I know what is going on. Easy, Tiger, easy. Awesome. Well, cool. Yeah, big thank you to Meredith for those amazing videos. We always love them. So that's always great. So yeah, we look forward. We're going to get to Tim Huntington now, but we'll give more update. We're going to answer questions at the end after Tim's presentation. And again, January, we'll be getting everybody geared up for the next nesting season and let you know what pairs we have coming down the line. But without further ado, our special guest, Tim, are you there? Are you there?
Hopefully, can you hear me?
There he is. So yeah, honored to have Tim Huntington here today. He's one not to he's hard to get on these Condor chats, so we had to work on him a little bit. And I think this photo that Darren took kind of captures it best. Tim hiding behind the scope. Anytime there's a camera out, ironically, he runs and hides. So
Yeah, I much prefer to be behind the camera.
yeah. But hey, your photos, in my opinion, are the best ever taken of condors. And it's just been a pleasure having you as a volunteer and then working with you also on the database that we've been using so much that you designed for condors. It's been a game changer for, I think, you talk to anybody out in the field. And then, of course, just, yeah, your photos are pretty. The closest thing I always say to what I see out in the field, when I remember when I saw Tim's first photos, I was like, this guy is nailing it. He's capturing that magic that we see out there. And yeah, if anybody's got their heart in it, Tim does. So Tim, you're going to talk to us today about where to see condors in the wild and kind of do a photo walkthrough with your amazing photos. So yeah, thank you for coming and take it away.
Okay, so there should be a next slide somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about 3 places to see condors in the wild. And the 3 places that I've been fortunate enough to visit this year. And the photos that I'm going to accompany it were all taken this year. We've got the 3 places here, these little pictures on this page, they were all taken with my phone. But we've got the Big Sur coast on the left, Pinnacles National Park in the middle there, and I managed to go visit the Navajo Bridge in Arizona this late fall. As I'd heard that was a good place to go see condors in the wild, and I finally got to check it out. And it turned out to be a very good place to see condors in the wild. So let's go to the next slide, and we'll start with Big Sur coast. Now, I've broken this up a little bit into how easy it is to get to these places, what's the best time of day, and anything else that I can think of that would make sense. So the Big Sur coast, you've got Highway 1 runs down the Big Sur coast. Potentially condors could be anywhere from Carmel down to San Simeon and even further south of there. But typically the best place to see condors is just south of the Pentheus restaurant down through Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park. And then within that zone, there's a particular smaller area that's featured in this photograph that we all know as Sea Lion Cove. Other people, I think eBird calls it Seal Overlook or something like that, or Google Maps, but it's down by mile marker 41. And as you can see in this photo on the left here, the highway is about 600 feet above the ocean. And here, the coast in general is a foraging location. Birds will come and look for dead marine mammals on the beaches below. And so the Big Sur coast, the best time to see condors is when there is a dead marine mammal around, which is kind of a strange thing to say, but it's true. And so we have, you can see here on the right, you've got the road at about 600 feet up. On the left, you've got the ocean, and up on the right, you have a ridge, and the birds will fly in high above that ridge, and they have such good eyesight, they can soon discern whether there's anything worthwhile down on the beach, whether they see the carcass or they see a bunch of turkey vultures already feeding or whatever. And so they will then go down and feed themselves, and then they'll leave the area again. And so the best time of day is mid-morning through mid-afternoon, because you need some breeze for the birds to be up and about, and they'll come in when there's more breeze. And the opportunities here, they kind of range from being above the birds when they're down on the beach and flying back up again. And then if you get super lucky, there's this, it really does depend on how strong the breeze is. If it's perfect for viewing condors, there's just enough breeze that they can soar and slowly gain altitude. So they go backwards and forwards along the cliffs, gaining altitude each pass, and you get to see them below, you get to see them right by you, you get to see them above you as they leave the area again after having fed. And it doesn't happen very often. I'm down there once or twice a week, and I see a day like that maybe 3 times a year. So it's not common. If there's not enough wind, they won't necessarily go down, or they'll fly out low or not get back up to road height. If there's a lot of wind, they'll go zooming up like they're in an elevator and not necessarily do that anywhere near where you are. But if you get lucky, you get lucky. So, one of the things, easy access, you're pulling out highway. You're driving down here, you're pulling out in the highway. Pretty much every photo you see in this presentation will have been taken within 10 yards of a highway in a pull-out, and you can just about make out my rather dirty car parked in that pull-out in the middle of the picture there. Yes, right there. So yeah, if we go to the next slide, one of the things you can get to do is see birds coming up from the beach below on the breeze, and you get the ocean as a backdrop. So if you have the ocean as a backdrop, you can have like a rough ocean like we have here on the left-hand side, and you can have a nice sort of blue-green ocean on the side. And there's plenty of opportunities to get photos with nice backgrounds. One of the first lessons I learned many years ago with photography is that the background's almost as important as the subject that you're taking the picture of. And so depending on the weather, like the picture on the left was a more stormy day, the picture on the right was a calmer day. You're just taking pictures of the birds as they float up, and sometimes you get really lucky and they'll stop when they get up to near road height. If, like I was saying before, the breeze, if the breeze isn't quite strong enough, they'll take pit stops as they're leaving the area. And sometimes the pit stops are reasonably close to the highway. Hopefully not too close. If they're too close, I've been trained to haze the birds away because we don't want to get hit, and we don't want them messing around where tourists have dumped trash. And if we go to the next slide, we can see here that a couple of birds have parked themselves for a breather, usually, to reasonably close to where I could take photos of them. Now, bear in mind that I am using a 100 to 400 zoom pretty much all the time. So I am using a telephoto lens, so they're not quite as close as they may look, but it is a pretty stunning view when a bird decides to take a pit stop somewhere nearby as they're leaving the area. Sometimes I'll do it on the way down as well, but it's always a treat when you see something like this. And then if we go to the next slide, again, as they're making the pit stops to and fro or flying to and fro on the breeze, as they get further away and take the turns to come back again, they're basically using the wind blowing up the cliffs, the orographic lift, to fly on. So they fly close to the cliffs. So they'll hug the cliffs as they go up and down. And so as they turn around to come back into the breeze, you can get the nice scenic backdrops in the background like we see here on the left. And then if you get super lucky, they'll be passing right over where you're standing, very close, as we can see here on the right. And the bird will just fly. They're probably 20 feet away from you when they do this, and it's one of those things that really you shouldn't even take a photo. You should just put the camera down and just take it all in. And I try and make sure I do that because it's just so amazing. You kind of lose it a little bit looking through the viewfinder. So one of the things to do is to remember to put the camera down and just take it all in because it's pretty amazing. And then if we go to the next slide, once the birds have gotten above road level, then you've got another nice background with the cliffs that they're in the background. and they frequently in the summer mainly as well, you get these misty, foggy days on the coast, and that provides a nice background for the bird to stand out from. And we can see here it's our friend 204 with a full crop having come up from the beach, having fed on some sort of marine mammal, probably a sea lion. And it's just kind of amazing to just take all this in and see them come flying over your head. If we go to the next slide, we can also, again, this is 6:46. She's parked, warming her wings in the morning, probably about to go down to the beach to feed. The birds will wait for the breeze to pick up a little bit before they go down, so that it seems like they wait for that so that they know that they can get back out again without a lot of effort. And so they'll just hang around, warm their wings. And then on the right here, we see her flying over the edge of the beach, which is 600 feet down. If you're hanging out in these pullouts, you'll often get a lot of tourists who aren't looking for condors stopping by. And as well as there being the odd dead marine mammal down there, there's typically lots of alive sea lions down there, and they're very noisy. And so people will be asking, oh, can you see them? And they think I'm trying to see the sea lions. And but I'm obviously looking for condors. And from this 600 feet up, the sea lions look like dots. And so it can get quite confusing. So that's the Big Sur coast. That's where I spend most of my time. But I also go to Pinnacles quite a bit. And so if you go to the next slide, this is a view from the top of Pinnacles. I was actually up there with Meredith yesterday. But Pinnacles is a perching location. The birds tend to spend the early morning or the late afternoon around the high peaks part of Pinnacles. It's the best in the winter for two reasons. One, it's way too hot outside of the winter. And two, the birds don't tend to hang there during the rest of the year. It tends to be a place they typically hang in the winter, which is good because it's the only time I can get up there with the temperatures. This place isn't easy access. This is a 4 to 5 mile round trip hike with 1,300 feet of elevation gain. But if you're physically capable, I highly recommend it. It's a very cool hike, regardless of whether you see condors or not. But you do see condors. So if we go to the next slide, here again, we've got, just like we have a set of regular birds at the coast, we have a set of regular birds at Pinnacles as well. This is 692, one of the regulars there. And you've got these different kinds of shots. The birds will fly around the high peaks area, so you can get these shots with the nice rock formations in the background. And then they also fly low because you're in the high peaks area, you're kind of at the top, and you can get them flying low over your head again as they soar around. And so that shot on the right was taken earlier this year. And again, I just saw the bird coming straight towards me, and I didn't put the camera down on this occasion, and the bird flew right over the top of me. You can see the crop there, and in this case, as we'll get to in a minute, the high peaks is a kind of social area for these condors. So usually when you see the crops visible on these birds, it's because they've inflated them with air, because they're posturing to other birds and trying to sort the hierarchy out. So if we go to the next slide, they come in and land on various spires nearby, and they'll warm wings. This shot on the left was taken late afternoon as the sun was starting to go down, and so you get these dramatic silhouettes, and If you look carefully at the photo on the right, you can see some chains at the bottom of the picture. They land on top of spires that are typically used by the climbers that go and climb, recreationally climb pinnacles. And so they'll land there and look down on us mere mortals who aren't climbers, who are down on the trail. And so it's just a sort of big social event going on there. Yeah, and if we go to the next slide, there's a pair of birds at Pinnacles who are like the king and queen of the park. 340 is the king, and then 236 tiny. 340 is Kunwak Shun, I think, and 236 is tiny. And they've raised multiple chicks in the park, and there's still a couple. And again, here we have the late afternoon, nice light, and the picture on the left is 340 attempting to mate with 236, and she wasn't very interested on this particular occasion. And so that's about as close as he managed to get before she got out of the way. But then they were soon just hanging out together as the sun was setting on the picture on the right. And again, this is all just up in the high peaks, either early in the morning or late in the afternoon. And then back in the day, there was a few trees around that were good perch trees that you could get some really nice photos in. But a lot of them have fallen down now over the last few years in storms and stuff. But there's still one tree that is kind of an interesting tree. If we go to the next slide. I call it the danger zone tree. This tree, the trail goes right underneath this tree. And sometimes first thing in the morning, there will be birds perched in the tree. And we can see them here looking down at me on the trail. And on the right, we can see why it's called the danger zone tree. And if you get up there and there are birds in these trees, it's you just hang around. These were taken first thing in the morning. You can see the sun hasn't even risen up yet. They're in the shade, and these birds are just getting ready for the day, lining their load before they go off and explore the food. And it's a very cool place to see birds. They're not in this tree that often, but if you're up there first thing in the morning, it's definitely a place to check out. And for those who don't know Pinnacles, there's two entrances, a west and an east, and the two entrances are not connected. If you come in to the west parking lot, you can actually see this tree from the parking lot through binoculars, and so you can get an idea of whether there's any birds in the tree before you start your hike. And then next slide, please. I just wanted to sort of emphasize how it's a very socially active site. You will see a lot of interactions between birds, birds chasing other birds. It just keeps on going, birds with inflated crops trying to show the dominance. And it's just a very cool place to see birds interacting with other birds and flying around. And yeah, if you're physically able, I highly recommend it. So then the third place is the next slide. It's Navajo Bridge. I'd never been here before until this fall. It's in Arizona, in Marble Canyon, not too far away from Page. I don't really know that area very well. But again, this is a perching location. It's best in the early morning or late afternoon. In terms of access, it's the easiest place to get to. There's a parking lot at the end of the bridge. There's a visitor center. There's on-site bathrooms. This bridge in the foreground here is now the pedestrian bridge. It's the original bridge. And then they built a second road bridge more recently to carry the road traffic. And then this original bridge became the pedestrian bridge. And it's actually, for those of you who know Big Sur, it's actually slightly older, slightly longer, and higher up than Bixby. So I was kind of surprised by that, but yeah, it's 400 feet above the river below. And one of the very cool things about it is the bridge, you can sort of see it in this picture, the bridge is wider at the bottom than it is at the top. So if you're on the bridge and you lean over the railing and look down, you can see the bridge. And that really helps. This bridge is, talking to the biologists there, this is another winter place. It's too hot in the summer and there's better foraging grounds for the Arizona-Utah flock in the summer. And so they're somewhere else. But in the winter, their further north foraging grounds are covered in snow, so they come down here and they hang out on the bridge, and they will land on the bridge, typically underneath the roadway, and they will land on the cliffs nearby. So if we go to the next slide, you get some really unique views of birds here. These are all me on the pedestrian bridge, leaning over and pointing the camera down. We've got, on the bottom left there, we have a bird looking back up at me from the bridge stanchion. And then a couple of birds interacting. And then this photo on the bottom right is a bird sleeping. And I was there, I was staying there's a motel pretty close to the bridge, about 200 yards away. And I was staying there overnight, and I woke up in the morning and I thought, well, should I stay in bed? The birds won't be active yet. And it's like, well, no, I went to this bridge. I was there for 2 days. It was a Saturday afternoon, a Sunday, and a Monday morning. And so it was like, I'm not going to stay in bed here. I'm going to get up and go and see what those birds might be doing on the bridge. And then I found this bird fast asleep below the pedestrian walkway, head totally tucked into the feathers. And I've seen that before, but from different angles. I've never seen it from vertically above before, because I'm looking straight down on the bird. And I just thought that was a really cool perspective. And it was one of my favorite photos that I got from when I was there, just because it was pretty unique. If we go to the next slide, you've also got a whole bunch of ruggedness to look at as well. This bird here is I've forgotten the number, I think it's 619, is known as the king of the bridge. And we can see here that on the left, you can see the canyon with the Colorado River flowing through at the bottom of it. And this is the canyon that the bridges span. And so the birds will land on the cliffs as well as on the bridge. And so you get them with these fantastically colored cliffs in the background of your photos, and you're up on the bridge, and you just get some really nice views once they start flying around. As I said, it's a perch place, so they will be there first thing in the morning, and then mid-morning when the breeze picks up, they'll take off and fly somewhere else, and then they'll come back later in the afternoon. And so that's what I did. I was there afternoon. I actually I went and got lunch and then came straight back just in case. I didn't wait till late afternoon. If we go to the next slide, there's just some fantastic backgrounds to be had. This picture on the left kind of reminds me of Star Wars, of the trench run in Star Wars, where the bird's coming in on an angle, flapping away, and just the shape of the wings and things like that. And then this bird on the right here, that's the Colorado River as the background. The wind had picked up and was rippling the river, and it's kind of green, and just a fantastic background. The bird was coming in. The birds do sort of chase each other around a little bit, and so this bird was coming in to come and land on the bridge below. If we go to the next slide, I'm always liking sort of long lines and stuff in my photos. And this bird on the left here came and landed on the bridge first thing in the morning. I actually ended up hazing this bird because they were on the pedestrian area, and I checked in with the biologist to check whether I'd done it right, meaning as I have been trained to haze these birds, and they said yes. If they're on the top of the bridge like this, the biologist will haze them. If they're below, they out on the sort of structure of the bridge, they're just left alone. And then this picture on the right is actually the same bird, and they're looking up. And it's just taken through a whole maze of bridge infrastructure and just managed to use it to frame the head. I'm leaning over the edge of the bridge, swaying backwards and left and right, trying to get the bird's head to line up in the middle of the hole in the bridge structure. And then the bird looked up, and so I clicked away and I got the shot I was hoping for. So I got very lucky there. And yeah, it's just it was just a cool place to hang out. There are people who know about the condors there, and it's a fairly popular place, but it was never crowded in the slightest. And then if we go to the next slide, because it's first thing in the morning, last thing in the afternoon type place, you get sunsets in there. And this picture on the left, the bird was about a quarter of a mile down the canyon away from the bridge towards the end of the day. And the light was just so nice on the cliffs, the Vermilion cliffs in the background there. And it was it was just so colorful. You just couldn't resist clicking away. And with the bird's whiteness and the white and black contrasting with all the color in the cliffs, it's very cool to see. And this bird in the middle, this was an aborted landing. The bird was coming in to haze one of the younger birds off the bridge infrastructure, and the younger bird saw this one coming and got out of the way quick. And so this is a female. She aborted the landing so that she could go chase the bird down the canyon. And just the whole way, all the wings of that got the brakes on and the feet out, ready to try and change direction as fast as possible. It was just cool to see. And then the picture on the right is a bird coming back into the bridge of the evening, having been off for the day with the sunset, the low sun in the background. The lighting was just really nice, and you get that with these first thing in the morning, last thing in the afternoon type places. And that's basically what I wanted to say. The next slide we'll just stick that up. I want to give a quick plug to the film I made earlier this year. Got Danae, Cara, and Darren to narrate it. They did an excellent job, and it's free to watch at bigsurcondors.com. And then most of the pictures I've shown today have been, not all of them, but most of them have been on my Instagram and Facebook feeds. That's typically where I keep my most recent photos. I do have a website, but I do websites for a living, so I kind of neglect my own site, because by the time I've worked on other people's websites, it's like, well, I don't really want to do any more website work. I want to do something with photos. So mine's a bit needs of an update, but yeah, Instagram and Facebook's where you can find me. And thank you for listening to me waffle along.
Man, Tim, that was amazing. Thank you for joining. We've been trying to get you on here for such a while, and yeah, you're fat. Yeah, I hadn't seen the Navajo bridge pictures. Those are amazing. You picked up that vermilion color, that they talk about, the vermilion cliffs. Yeah, with the condor in the back. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I can look at your photos all day, man. I think you need a photo book here pretty soon, condor photo book or something.
Yeah, we'll see.
But thank you, Tim, and thank you, everyone. And we do have Mike. What are we looking like for questions? I think we can field a few, right?
I'm just trying to swim through all the reaction emojis. I think this is the equivalent
Tim's
of
got the record, I think. That
yeah,
was the
I
most
think so.
emojis I've ever seen.
I think this is the Zoom version of a standing ovation. Uh, we love the photographs, and we love Tim's voice, and it really brings the field guide to life, and even the biologists who see condors all the time get a true sense of the birds even through these photographs. And so it's really unique and amazing, and we appreciate the opportunity to see them. So some basic questions. First, Tim, what kind of camera do you use?
I am currently using a Canon R5C. That's the cinema version of the R5, so it's designed equally for taking stills and video, and that's primarily because I wanted to shoot video for that film I just plugged, and and then I shoot it with a 100 to 400 zoom lens most of the time. I do have a wider lens here and there, but I'm pretty sure every shot I showed you today was taken with the 100 to 400.
And I don't recall seeing you out there with a tripod. Do you shoot handheld, or do you ever use a tripod?
Every shot you saw today was handheld. I will very occasionally use a tripod for a sunset or a landscape, or if I'm shooting video of something that's not moving. But one of the features, particularly like the close-ups where you've got a headshot of a bird, the Canon has this. Lots of cameras have it now. It's called animal eye detection, and you can basically put the center of the camera over the animal's eye, hit a button, and then the camera just locks in on that bird's eye, and then you can reframe the shot so that the whole head's in the frame, and it keeps track of where the eye is in the frame. And that has been a game changer for me in getting those portrait shots. It locks in on the eye. Before that, I used to have to try and do it manually, and I'd have like a 1 in 10 where the eye was sharp. Now it's like 8 out of 10 the eye is sharp, and so it's really nice, because if you are taking a portrait shot, it's the eye that you really want to be sharp.
You shoot many different subjects. I've seen a lot of marine life photos of yours. What drew you to condors? Was it something that inspired you right from the start, or is it something that grew with time? Obviously, you've spent a lot of time photographing condors, so we know that you enjoy them in particular. But what was it that sort of sparked that interest in condors in particular?
Well, I moved to Monterey 18 years ago, and I was interested in all sorts of wildlife that might be around here, particularly the more unusual. And then I heard about condors. And back in those days, it was hard to figure out where they might even be. I managed to find something on this thing called the internet that allowed me to figure it out. And basically, I went down, saw some birds from a distance, wanted to see them closer, so I went down again and ran into one of the biologists who worked with Ventana at the time, and spoke to her, and we chatted for a bit. But what really got me was the first time one flew about 10 feet over my head. That's all it took. I was hooked after that, and I've been hooked ever since.
I love that sound of the wind through their wings as they go right overhead. It's something that even transcends the photographs.
Yeah, we had that up. I haven't processed the photos I took yesterday at Pinnacles yet, but we had that at Pinnacles last night, or late yesterday afternoon. There was birds flying around, and you'd have one coming towards you, and you're taking pictures of it, and then you just hear the wind going through the wings of another one that's flying over your head, and it's like, it's magical.
And you talked about the right type of wind in Big Sur. And Joe, maybe you can chime in on this too, because you know a lot about what sort of wind conditions generate good condor movement patterns. And you talked about this, but could you be more specific for Susan about the types of wind speeds that are just right along the Big Sur coast? What wind speeds are we talking about? I know you don't have an anemometer out there, but is there something that you can say about whether we're talking about a cool breeze or a roaring wind? What is it that will produce these condor sightings? What wind speed are we talking about?
It's a medium breeze. What you'll do, the way that particular area and that area around Sea Lion Cove is in a little bit of a wind shadow from the prevailing northwest winds. And so what you'll often do is if you get down there early in the morning, there'll be no breeze, but you'll see the ocean ripples about a mile offshore. And then you see those ripples come in closer to shore during the day, and then usually by about 10:30, 11, they hit the cliffs. And you don't want a sort of light breeze. You want a medium breeze. If it's blow your hat off, it's too strong. And one good clue as well is there's lots of turkey vultures around, and they need less breeze. And so if they start flying, you know that the breeze is picking up and it's almost condor breeze. And then if it gets a little bit stronger, then you know it's condor breeze. But really, if there's nothing to entice them down onto the beach, they're going to stay up high over the first ridge. And you'll still see condors, but they'll be that bit further away. But it's still cool to see them flying over the ridges above you anyway.
And I've seen condors maybe not have enough wind, and they'll just sort of pull themselves up, climbing the cliff themselves instead of trying to make the effort to fly. So wind is important for condors. It dictates a lot of the terrain that forms their distribution, and where we find them and where we don't find them depends a lot on the terrain and the wind. Lastly, Tim, are your shots in RAW or JPEG?
I shoot in RAW. One of the main reasons is particularly on the Big Sur coast. If you think about it, it's the west coast of the US, and so the sun is usually over the ocean. So if it's a sunny day, the sun's over the ocean, and the birds can be backlit, and often the head can be in shadow. And shooting RAW gives me more ability to pull out shadow detail in the head. So if I do process pretty much every photo I take in Photoshop, but it's just to pull up like shadow detail so you can see more detail in the head and things like that when it's a high contrast day.
Thanks so much, Tim, for joining us for your volunteer work for Ventana, and for the projects that you've worked with Ventana for the database, and for always sharing your photos and really inspiring us with the beauty of the Big Sur coast. Thanks so much for joining us. Joe, I'm going to kick it back to you to announce our next Zoom meeting, and also any other announcements. Thanks to all of you who attended and shared your sentiments about 204, 208, and all of the other condors. Thanks so much. And Joe, any last announcements for us?
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for fielding all those questions. And yeah, I love seeing all the emojis. That was awesome. And it is the holidays. If you're looking to purchase some stuff, we got a great online store. Yeah, so get to our online store. We got some great stuff on there. You can see some of it modeled by our staff right here. We even got a couple Christmas ornaments for the tree, so highly recommend those. Our next Condor chat is January 30th, 2025. Can't believe it's here. It's amazing. We made it. Oh, well, we haven't made it yet, but it's coming. But yeah, Tim, thank you for coming, buddy. Always awesome to see your photos, and just I know it was a lot to get you on here, so we appreciate it. And as
Oh,
you can see,
thank,
everyone else appreciated it. So, but yeah, thanks, man. We know we just enjoy all the stuff you give us.
well, thanks for having me. And I just want to say that it's been a privilege to work with you guys over these I've been following these condors for 16 years now. It's been a total privilege. You're a dedicated bunch, and each new set of people that come along seem to be as dedicated or more dedicated than the ones that left. And yeah, it's just awe-inspiring. The birds are awe-inspiring, and working with you guys is really good as well. It's the work I do now with the database and stuff. It's a dream job because I get to work with cool people and a cause I care about, and so I'm a very lucky person.
Yeah, and the work you're doing is amazing. We're reaping the benefits of your work, and it's really, we talk about it just to the conservation of the species. It's just making us work smarter, not harder, and work better as a team across all the programs. I think more information is being exchanged, and that's only a win-win for the Condor. So thank you for greasing those wheels, Tim, and thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful New Year, wonderful holiday, and we'll see you in 2025. Even sounds weird saying it, but amazing year and great things to come next year. And thank you again for joining us. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.